Hello, Acadiana. This is Keith Landry. I'm from Broussard, near Cade, actually. I'm out in the country. I'm in rural Broussard in St. Martin Parish. This is a friend of mine, a colleague, Steve Judice, and we're here to learn a little bit about Steve and even have a little sample of his homegrown music a little later on. And Steve, I'd like to start by just recognizing that we already know each other from
through music,
but written originals.
Yes, songwriting.
At Napoleon's, at the venue next to Borden's.
Yeah, the Blue Moon Saloon.
Blue Moon, exactly. And in other ways, and I've always appreciated your music. I think some of it comes from the heart, from what I've listened to.
Sure.
And I'd like you to just introduce yourself by telling us what got you started or what created the interest to begin with in music and singing.
Okay, I started at about the age of 16, I think. I had a brother-in-law who was in the United States Navy, and when he'd ship off, he'd leave his gear at our house. Mm-hmm. And he had a guitar and a bunch of chord books, and invited me at some point. He said, "Look, I'm leaving, but if you'd like to pick up the guitar and maybe learn a little something, feel free to do so." And so that's how it started. And I've been playing ever since. You know, I'm kind of on my second career in life with law, actually maybe my third, with songwriting, because I'm a retired attorney. I practiced from 1983 until about 3 years ago. And most of that was in Baton Rouge. Then retired from that. Had some health issues and kind of felt like it might be better not to keep up with the stress of practicing law. So I really got into songwriting at that point. But I've been writing since probably about 1978, 79.
And then another thing I know about you is that you're connected to the Judice Inn famous burger place.
Yes.
You want to elaborate on that just a little bit?
Sure. That was two of my dad's brothers, Mark and Al, started it in 1947. There had been 5 brothers in active duty at the same time, and when Mark and Al got home, they decided to build a burger place. And where they built it on Johnson Street, people thought they were crazy. It's like, why are you building this thing so far out in the country? Which is kind of funny when you look at where it is now, because it's really in the middle of the city.
Right. Same thing with when I was very young, we'd come from a long distance to visit my grandparents in New Iberia that had retired there. And we would stop at the old LaBeouf's. Mm-hmm. Just before, it was in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
And look how that thrived and went on to be such a successful business,
It's amazing, man. Times certainly change with the time, don't they?
They do. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how you got interested in originals and writing your own songs and then turning around and performing them?
Yeah, I really wish I could pinpoint when I really started the idea that I wanted to be a songwriter. I'd written a lot of silly little ditties, and at some point I had a song that I wrote. It was called "Cross to Bear," and I decided at that point that it was something serious and it was something I was proud of. And so I wanted to get it recorded. And then once I did that, I kind of fell in love with the recording process, and that really drove, for me, the incentive to write more, because I wanted to do a complete album at some point. And so I was actually writing. As I was recording the album, I was still writing the songs for the first one. And I now have 5 albums of original music under my belt. My 5th album I released in 2020, which was right in the middle of the COVID lockdown. And so I wasn't able to tour in support of it or anything. And, I've never really had much commercial success. I write more for the joy of doing it. But that's kind of where I am now. I've got enough songs written for another album at this point, but I've kind of decided that I'm gonna hold off on doing another record until my little grandson is old enough to be my percussionist. He's 5 right now, and he's got a drum kit, and he practices probably about 2 hours a day typically. He just loves it. And so once he's strong enough as a percussionist, I think that's when we'll try to get back in the studio and do another record.
You mentioned one of your songs had the name or the word rather cross in it, and we are on social media together, and I notice you're very strong in your faith.
Yeah, I don't really like to wear my faith on my sleeve, but during the pandemic, I was coming across a lot of biblical texts that talked about not being afraid. And so I made it a habit to post one every day on Facebook. And then after the, I guess, acute stages of the pandemic had passed, I was kind of in the habit of doing it. And so I read the Bible fairly regularly. And so I would look for passages that struck my heart, and then I'd share them. And, you know, a lot of people appreciate that one little, you know, snippet of inspiration a day, and I feel blessed to be able to provide it.
Let's move on and have you at least get into one of your songs with your guitar and give it a little sample for the audience to
Sure, be happy to do
zone
it.
in on.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds great.
Okay.
The name of this song is Dead End Gravel Road. It's the title cut from my third record. I remember well and fondly moments in the sun, working shoulder to shoulder with Papa when there was working to be done. Cleaning out the barn he built or bringing in new hay, cutting weeds along the fence line till the daylight slipped away. And it was off to Uncle Fred's for a taste of corn liquor or a game of dominoes. Living high on a hog on a farm at the end of a dead end gravel road. We cut cattle in the springtime, we cut cane in the fall. We cut firewood for the winter, and we cut up through it all. I was a kid and I was happy then, I never thought about the load. Living high on a hog on a farm at the end of a dead end gravel road. I was the oldest of the children, it fell to me to work the farm and to pay the rent when an accident took my daddy's arm. Suddenly it was all on me, the whole tragic episode. Working like a dog on a farm at the end of a dead-end gravel road. So I just set my jaw and stopped dreaming, 'cause dreaming lets the nightmares in. Puts a man in mind of the distance between what is and what might have been. I just played the hand dealt to me, stayed true to my moral code, and I'll be here at the end when I finally buy the farm on this dead-end gravel road. Thank you. Thanks.
My favorite thing about your music is that it's coming from the heart. I mean, it's just,
Yeah. Yeah. There's only a slight hint of autobiography in that one.
Right.
We lived on a dead-end gravel road, but that's about as far as it went. My dad passed with both of his arms intact.
I know you got another one in the ranks that you want to do for us also.
Sure. I love playing. You know, yesterday, I don't know when this is going to air, but yesterday was Memorial Day, so maybe I do a soldier song. Huh?
All right, sure.
I wrote this song with an old law school classmate of mine, Michael Tusa Jr. He was visiting with a group of folks at a garden patio in New Orleans one day, and a helicopter flew over, and one of the people sitting in the group just zoned out completely, and he was a Vietnam veteran. And they asked him at some point, once the helicopter passed, they said, "You okay?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, I was looking for the green smoke." Because they used to use colored smoke canisters to basically mark the areas where the helicopters needed to come in to either deliver troops or pick up the wounded or whatever. And when he told me that story, it's like, man, we need to write that song. And we turned it into a song about how it's important to take care of our veterans. Last time I checked, it was still true that we were losing 22 veterans a day to suicide. And that's unacceptable. So it's okay to hate the wars, but love the soldiers, and we should take better care of them.
There was a gentleman I took good care of with Alzheimer's, and before it got really bad, he had one of his sons over there visiting at his home, and a helicopter was flying kind of low over the house, and the son, without even thinking, just dove underneath his boat and trailer and just did like this, It
had become reflex.
And then I knew the story, already. So when he got out, he was naturally self-conscious and kind of embarrassed. I said, "Don't be embarrassed in front of me, cuz I understand fully. We know what that's all about.
Sure.
And his dad just grabbed him and hugged him.
Oh my.
He had fought Vietnam.
Yep. I don't know why the good Lord chooses to test the character and courage of some and bypasses that challenge for others. I turned 18 in 1974, and Nixon stopped the draft in 1973, and so I didn't have to serve. I was spared that, but man, so many soldiers have just had their lives taken from them, whether in battle or in increments after returning from the war. This one's called Green Smoke Canister. It was 1968, stationed at Quezon. A Marine dug in with a cross to bear and a letter addressed, "Dear John." Casualties were heavy, reinforcements light. Marines given orders to sit and wait, though trained to stand and fight. Finally came the order for the counterattack as mortars fell all around. He was up at the front, running the point. That's when the shrapnel knocked him down. Now he's waiting for a rescue, not sure that he'd survive. Thought about the little girl that shot him down. Would she care that he was dead or alive? But a Marine stepped up and knelt to help, 'cause no man is left behind. And he tossed out a green smoke canister for the Huey crew to find. Now it's off to the base for treatment, all his jungle duty done. But the battles that he's gonna have to face from here, they've only just begun. So he'll fight to save his body and his mind, but it's a battle that he might not win, 'cause old wounds open up easily when those new nightmares begin. And his nights all run together, his brain stays on the run, keeps thinking that he's gotta save his brothers in arms before the next round of shelling. He sits all alone in a veteran's home, 50 years removed. 1,000-yard stairs all around him, conditions unimproved. And in the tangled jungle of his mind, old wounds are fresh and new. He looks to us for the green smoke canister. It's a rescue overdue. He looks to us for the green smoke canister. Rescue overdue.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've got one request.
Sure.
One more song.
All right.
And if it's not too emotional
Yes.
for you, the one you wrote about your father.
Okay.
Would you please do that if it's not asking too much?
No, I'd be happy
Man,
to
that
do
was
it.
awesome.
I'd be happy to do
that
it.
was the one that touched my heart probably the most out of all your songs.
Okay, it's called Dementia, and
Right.
yeah, I'd be happy to do it. That's a disease that just talk about being robbed of life in
Yes.
in slow increments. That's one that happens, you know. And God bless the caretakers for those with dementia. And the first time I ever played it in public, I forgot the words to it.
That's ironic. That's what you call ironic.
It
Yeah,
is.
right.
It is.
Yes.
I thought that might be my dad sending down a little confusion
on
to
you,
pull
huh?
my chain
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah, yeah. There's a look in his eye that tells me he ain't at home today. But we sit in his den and we share a cup of coffee anyway. Well, he's starched and pressed, he's neatly dressed, sitting in his favorite chair. And he's got a rosary in his knotted hand, but his mind is off somewhere. I make small talk, he nods, but mostly we just listen to the radio. I doubt he'll recall the visit when it's time for me to go. It gets harder each time to find him, and that line's drawn mighty thin between the things we call reality and the world he's living in. Well, I wonder where he goes when he wanders. Is it a place he truly longs to be, or a land of troubled waters, drawn there by old memories? Is he fighting in the war all over again, or rolling in his sweet baby's arms, having a beer with a buddy, or cutting rows on his old daddy's farm? Does it seem like a dream or feel like it's real when his mind gets him lost in the woods? Is he frightened, lonesome, or happy? Sure like to know if I could. I'd like to know, where does he go when he wanders? Is it a place he truly longs to be, or a land of troubled water, drawn there by old memories? Troubled waters cast distorted reflections.
Well, the weather's not great right now, and rather than press our luck and have lightning or thunder or both interrupt us and cut us off and have to come back another time, we're going to shut it down.
Okay, sounds good.